So for this question, it says, what are two positive numbers where the product is 186 and the sum is a minimum? So let's have our two numbers represented by two variables, so x and y. So x times y is 186, right, because the product is 186, and the sum is a minimum. So add the two variables, right, which are the two numbers, x and y, is equal to sum, which we'll designate with s. So now what we can do is solve for one of the variables, right? So we can divide by x on each side, so y is equal to 186 divided by x. Now over here, for x plus y is equal to s, we can plug in y, so it's x plus 186 divided by x is equal to s. So now what we can do is we can keep that equation, right, and just, and I pulled out the 186, so it'll be easier for you to see. And so now we can take the derivative. So the derivative of x is just 1, and then the 186 is just a constant, so 1 over x is the same as saying x to the negative 1, right? And now when we actually take the derivative, it'll be minus 1, right? So when we do, well, first it'll be negative, right? And we pull the negative down, negative, and then minus 1 is negative 2, okay? So after we do that, I can rewrite it as negative 1. The x to the negative 2 can come to the denominator and become x squared. Notice how it becomes positive. And then after that, I can multiply it by 186. So it'll be negative 186 over x squared. I can set this equal to 0, right? I can set it equal to 0. And so it'll become, and add this on to both sides, it'll become that, multiply by x squared by each side, and get 186 is equal to x squared, and then square root both sides. Now we have to prove that this is a minimum, okay? So for that, we have to take the derivative and do the second derivative. So let's do that. The second derivative, or just taking the derivative of this, will just be 0, so it'll go away. And the derivative of this, well, I can pull out the 186 and take the derivative of this. So I can rewrite it as x to the negative 2. So I bring down the negative 2, minus 1 is negative 3, and then we have negative 186, negative 2. I bring that to the denominator, so x to x cubed, and then multiply these two, and since both of these are negative, it becomes 372 divided by x cubed. And so now since we get that, this, we don't even need a calculator or anything. As long as it's positive, that means that it's concave up, right? So if it's concave up, that means that this has to be a minimum. So our number that we got was x equals square root of 186. So x times y, that was the original equation, right? Let's see, x times y is 186. So we have this equation, x times y. We plug in x, which is 186, times y, and it's equal to 186. And so the only number that would fit the equation is square root of 186, because the square root times the square root is just the number, so y has to equal the same thing. So x and y are actually the same number, and that would be the square root of 186. I hope that helped, and thanks for watching.